people, welcome back to my channel. So, anyway, it is tea time. I did not put, there's a lime in here, but I did not put apple cider vinegar, and like, it is so clear. I didn't really notice how cloudy apple cider vinegar. Not only does it make like the drink cloudy, but it makes the glass cloudy. I didn't even realize it. Anyway, my brother actually got me a new Starbucks mug that I might be using in the future instead of my mason jars. Just a heads up. Anyway, so today, yes, it's tea time. Oh, I should probably have my cup in front of me because it's tea time. So I'm going to talk about a significant other. And actually, I was thinking about this individual. Like I said, all of my men are great guys. They're just not great for me. And I was thinking about this person the other day. Well, actually, thought about them a couple of times, but the reason why is because I was studying and reading, and I was like, man, I wish I had a photographic memory, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Okay, let me back up for a second. So junior year, spring semester, I'm never going to forget, because this was the semester I really wanted to take a break. Like, I really wanted to take a semester off. Like, I was dealing, my, significant other at the time was an asshole, and I couldn't like deal with him and his mood swings, and then also like I was kind of burnt out from school, right? Because and that was also the semester, I think, junior year, spring semester. Yeah, that was the semester that I was scheduled to work in a preschool, like for my practicum hours, and I was going to be there for like 8 hours a day, or 8 hours a week, like all, one day, 8 hours. And I wasn't like mentally ready to go back to school. Like, I needed some extra time off because I was so like, I was burnt out from class. I was burnt out from like clinical work. Now like my practicum placement was going to be long hours at a place, like at a preschool. You have to have high energy to be at a preschool. And then my significant other was going, I don't know, experiencing mood swings or whatever, like, he was on his period, because guys do have periods. Like, they do experience the same exact mood swings, but I think the worst part is that you don't know. At least like women, we know when it's happening. We can track the days. We don't know with them. So I really needed to take a semester off, but I didn't. And the reason why I didn't is because then I'd be a year behind, right? Because like even at a big school, they only offer certain classes, certain semesters. So if you take like spring semester off, you can't retake those classes in the summer or retake them in the fall and then graduate with everybody else. Like, you have to wait until the next year. And I didn't want to do that, plus financial aid, they don't really allow you to do that sometimes, in my case. So anyway, I didn't take a semester off, and it was the worst mistake I've ever made, because then I ended up having a full-on mental breakdown, and it only carried over into the following semesters, because it never got like solved. That tends to happen, I think, in college to everybody, not just music therapy majors, and it's okay. But at the time, I mean, none of my parents went to college, so I didn't know it was actually considered normal until I talked to my friends, and they were all experiencing the same thing. Music therapy, non-music therapy majors, they all experienced the mental breakdown, and it carried on every semester for them as well. So thank God for my friends, because they were the ones that were like, no, Megan, this is totally normal, because I'm experiencing it too, or I did experience it, the ones that graduated. Anyway, so there's like a little background story about spring of junior year. And then of course it doesn't really, well, I'll get to that in a second. So then on top of it, what did I just do to my hair? And then on top of it, so like that was happening in my personal life, and then on top of it with school, I had to take music history, 20th century, biology. I think I did yeah, no, it was medical practices. It wasn't psychiatric music therapy. It was medical music therapy practices, and then my clinical placement. So it was, and then of course, you know, you got to take other, like I think I had to do my history requirement that semester, which I ended up doing online. I took an online like half a semester course, and then of course I had other stuff like, what other classes? I definitely had other classes because, like, you know, music therapists, we take like 18. I think that semester I ended up taking 21 credits, just with everything. So definitely had other classes. And then my man, well, we weren't dating at the time, but now we're together, and he's all like, oh, I was in Ireland that semester. That was the best. Spring of junior year was the best semester ever because I was abroad. I was in Ireland, and I was like, yeah, and I was in the U.S. freaking out. Great. But anyway, which is kind of funny. You know. Anyway, so yeah. So those were all the classes, and it sucked. Anyway, now. As a music therapist, we don't really take tests. Like, whenever we did take an exam, it was always a blue book exam where, like, they asked you a question and then you wrote down the answer. So it would be like, oh, like, describe a time in a session when you would use the ISO principle. Like, you know, give examples, state the population, state how long the session is, state the goal of the session, you know, and then you'd have to write, like, all 3-page blue book thing about like using the ISO principle in a session. Like those were like our exams, right? So you couldn't necessarily study for them, and it was usually only, yeah, it was only like 4 questions, right? Because each question would be worth like 25 points, totaling 100 for the test. So so those were our exams. Up until I got to music history, and then it was literally like, it was, again, a blue book exam, but it was like, who are the people in the Russian Five? What did they do? You know? And then, oh, who are the people, you know, what was so great about Impressionism in music? You know? And then, again, it was like a blue book exam where you had to write it out, but you actually had to know the facts, you know? So you did have to memorize everything and study everything. And then biology, oh my goodness gracious, that was also, again, another memorization study. And then the practicum, you know, yeah, we had to memorize. I don't know whose idea it is that, like, music therapists need to memorize their music, because, like, in the real world, you don't memorize your music because, like, there's so much turnover with the music. So, you don't really, like, you play the song maybe twice, right, in a week, and then you go on to the next song. So it's like you play like 10 to 15 songs a week. Like, you can't memorize all of them. So, like, I don't understand whose idea it is to memorize these songs, especially in practicum, but that's what I was asked to do, and it was stupid. So anyway, there was a lot of memorize. So that's 3 things I just told you about that I had to memorize for. And then medical practices, most of the time we just had to do a paper. Oh, and we did have to do mock sessions. Yet again, another memorizing music, which shouldn't be memorized day. Anyway, but I wanted to discuss one of my significant others, because during this time, there was a lot of memorizing that needed to happen, and there's certain things that I can look at and, like, photographically memorize, like the heart, for example, but I don't know why, but in biology, when we had to learn the heart and we had to learn the different valves and we had to learn the blood flow, for some reason I could stare at that image and, like, 2 hours later, it was photographically memorized. Yes, 2 hours later, so that gives you kind of an idea of my photographic memory, how it's not really that great. Then other topics like music history, for example, I actually had to figure out, like, ways to remember this, like mnemonic devices, processing it in my brain, you know, talking it out, writing it out, because for some reason music history I couldn't like just stare at the page and like photographically memorize it. Um, and then music too. Some songs just came to me photographically, and other songs didn't. And I did cheat and use the same key, so at least that was something that was easy. Like it was easier to do it that way. And then I just had to like learn the lyrics somehow, some way. But I had a significant other one time, and he legit had a photographic memory. Um, he legit could read something and just like memorize it, like instantly memorize it. And it was amazing. I thought it was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. Because I never knew, like, I mean, my music history professor, of course, had photographic memory, but I didn't know anybody other than him that had it until I met this guy. And I don't know, I was so amazed. But and the reason why I'm talking about this today is because this guy, like, yeah, he had photographic memory and it was wonderful and it was great, but like he didn't go to school. Like he didn't take biology where he had to memorize the heart. He didn't play well, I mean, he did play an instrument, but I mean, I'm sorry, everybody plays piano. Everybody plays guitar. I need a little bit more feedback, and that was like kind of him, like, oh yeah, I play guitar. And it's like, oh really? Like, what does that even mean? So no, he didn't play an instrument. The reason is no, he didn't play an instrument. He owned a guitar. There you go. That's kind of, but yeah. So he didn't play an instrument. Didn't have to learn any music. Didn't have to memorize anything for school. Didn't take no biology class. He would just like read books that he liked, and then he would memorize it. And like that's great, but that and 2 cents won't even get you on the subway. I think that you should really use your photographic memory to your advantage. And maybe like school is not for you. School isn't for everybody. Maybe music isn't for you. Music's not for everybody. But at least like use that to your knowledge. Like use that in the business world. Use that at your job. Because it is a skill and not everybody has it. And dear Lord, I wish I had it. I wish I could just memorize things photographically. But the main reason why I'm talking about this today is because this guy, like, he had potential. I mean, how many people in the world have photographic memory? That's pretty darn amazing. But the thing is, he didn't use it. Like, he didn't use it at work. He didn't go to school. He didn't have an instrument. He read books, but like that was it. Now, like, reading is a great thing, don't get me wrong, but like I always like to share my knowledge with other people. Like, I talk about it in class. Like when I did my personal statement for graduate school, I talked about it. Like, you know, but he didn't. It was just like he read and then he'd talk about it with me, which was great, but like, what's the point? Like, most of the time the books he read didn't really interest me either. So like, they didn't interest me. So yet again, like, what was the point? And I do feel bad for this guy. I'm not like putting him down. I just feel bad. Like, I feel bad that you have so much potential and you're not even using it. Do you even know how to use your potential? That's the topic, right? Do you even know? Like, I don't even think he knew. I don't even think he realized what potential he had, and I don't think he knew how to use it in the best of ways. Kind of strange. I don't know. And I wonder, like, as a therapist, I do wonder, like, how much is that to blame on the kid and how much is that to blame on the parents? Because, like, my parents, for example, first of all, my parents kiss the ground I walk on. And a lot of people are jealous of that. They hate the fact that my parents like bow down to everything that I do. But let me back up here because I'm going to sound like a spoiled brat, but I'm not a spoiled brat. It's just that I, my parents didn't really help me with anything. Like, they didn't give me money for school. They didn't really encourage music therapy just because of the money sake. They didn't have a lot of money to begin with. They didn't help me with my FAFSA and dear Lord, that was like intimidating as a 18-year-old filling out FAFSA for college, and your parents didn't help you. And the reason why they didn't help is because they didn't know what to do. Like, it wasn't like they were like, oh, do it on your own, I'm not helping you. It was like they actually didn't know how to help. That was like the thing. And like, they didn't have money, to pay for college. They didn't want me to major in music therapy because they thought I was going to have to take out a significant loan, and they knew I wasn't going to pay it back, and they didn't have the resources to help me pay it back. So that's kind of, I guess, the main reason why they kiss the ground I walk on, because I was able to major in music therapy, and I was able to get scholarships, and I was able to organize the loans so that, like, I didn't have that much in debt to pay back, and I was able to accomplish it. And then I worked extra shifts and whatever. I was able to, like, pay off the undergrad loan because I didn't have that much of a loan to begin with. And that's kind of like some of the reasons why that's one example, I should say. I do this in a lot of different areas of my life. So that's kind of why they kiss the ground I walk on, because I've proven to them that I'm independent enough to make things work, and they don't have to worry about me. They don't have to care for me. They don't have to, baby me, shelter me, because, like, I can figure it out, and I won't go into debt, because I can't go into debt because I don't really have a safety net. And that's kind of why they kiss the ground. But they've always said, like, just because I've proven this to them, they always praise everything I do. Majoring in finance, getting an MBA, like, that's big, and you're doing it on your own, and you're paying on your own, and you're gonna be great. You're gonna be amazing, because you are amazing. You're the best, Megan. You're wonderful, Megan. And that's always what I hear from my parents. But I did work for it. They didn't always trust me. Believe me, 14-year-old me, they used to get very angry and very upset, and they didn't trust me back then. But I proved it to them that they can. And anyway, so that's why it's always like, Megan, whatever you want to do, you do, because I know you can do it, and I know you're going to make us proud, because you've proven that time and time again. So part of me wonders, though, if, like, this person, like, doesn't know how to use their potential, because their parents were never like, oh, I trust you, and, like, you can do it. Oh, I kiss the ground you walk on. Like, so part of me wonders if it's the parents didn't, like, hype him up, or if it's his own, like, oh, I'm just too late. Like, oh, I'd much rather read books I like than photographically memorize biology because I don't like biology. It's probably a mix of both. But I do wonder, like, what's the percentage of parenting versus what's the percentage of the kid. And I think everybody wonders that, especially therapists. We all wonder that. So anyway, the moral of this story here is that you really should, use your potential to the fullest. I don't recommend going into debt like the prodigal son did, but I don't really think he used his potential to the fullest either. But at least try things like go, what did I do? Zip lining. Go zip lining, go bowling, go, now you can take online classes. And honestly, like, if you want to get a certification in healthcare administration, like, you can actually, you won't get a actual certification, but you can, like, do that online. You can do it through the iTunes, I think it's like iTunes University, Law Library, Canopy has, classes sometimes. They have like those movie documentaries, Netflix has documentaries. But you can like educate yourself and get like a graduate certification, like a DIY graduate certification, or a lot of people a DIY postdoc. You know, you can do that and educate yourself, and that way you won't be going into debt, but you still will be using your potential to the fullest. Like, you can go out and be social. I mean, I'm Armenian, so like I could go out and be social in the Armenian community. I can reach out to other Armenians if I don't want to be social and I just want to stay at home and talk to people. You know, you can go out and take an art class, you can go out and take a music class. Heck, you could do all that stuff on YouTube if you don't want to pay for it. Like, there's so many things you can do depending on what your interests are and depending on what your potential is. There's so many ways that you can, like, you know, take it and explore the world without actually, like, spending a lot of money. And that's the moral of the story here, is try to push yourself. I mean, maybe meditating is a way to explore your potential, but it's intrinsic, it's internal. It's not, you're not going out and like helping the world, but you are doing something small. I mean, I think that that's good, and I think that that's great. And, you know, it doesn't have to be something big, but at least, like, try something new, develop a new habit, explore, you know, improve yourself. Because, like, especially when you're young, I mean, this poor man, well, when we were together, he was older, but when he was a teen, like, he didn't explore, he didn't, like, try new things. He was very stubborn, and I think that that also had an effect on using the potential to the greatest of, well, using his potential, or exploring his potential, I should say. So, don't be him, and try new things, and don't be stubborn, and, you know, you don't have to, like, go bragging to the world if you're unsure about something. You could always try something new, not tell anybody about it until it's successful. Everybody does that. So, like, that's fine. But yeah, use your potential, and try to explore it, and try to make good of it, and don't just, like, leave it in a box. Don't just, like, read things and tell your girlfriend who has no interest in them about it, because that's not doing you any good, that's not doing her any good, that's not doing the world any good. And that's the story, that's the main point that I was trying to get across. Okay, have a great day, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.